walking down a dark street at night with no one around him.
But some muggers aren't choosy. They'll go after anyone, anywhere.
I didn't have no ideal situation of mugging a person. I just, like, if I was there right there on the lonely street, or I know a street where police, you know, don't hardly come around, and there ain't that many people, I'll go ahead and you know, mug the person.
The ideal victim of an armed robbery is probably a blind woman standing on a corner with her purse open. I mean, there is no ideal victim. The bad guy takes his victims as he finds them.
We've seen that once you've been targeted as a victim, it may be too late. Then what can you do? Our next crime tip will give you some advice that might just save your life. Case closed. We'll be back in a moment.
Next, a case closed investigator goes undercover to capture the dirty truth about a St. Louis neighborhood. Footage that shocks local police into action.
In most American cities, many times people give up in despair and move away, hoping the problems don't follow. But often they do. Recently in St. Louis, a neighborhood banded together in order to find a different solution to the problems facing their community. But they couldn't do it alone. Recently, St. Louis has had its share of problems. Although the floods threatened to wash away riverfront buildings, the threat receded as the rains ended. But in the inner city, a different threat exists and shows no sign of receding. In St. Louis's downtown Dutchtown district, one neighborhood is wasting away. Urban violence, drug abuse, and prostitution are turning the once safe streets into a war zone. Many residents have fled, and the few that remain are frightened to reveal their identities on camera.
We're mad as hell, and we're not going to take it anymore. We've had enough. We've simply had enough. We're trying to all unite and get these people out of our area. It's horrifying.
We as a community has to band together and stop the drugs and the violence now. Not 10 years from now when our children's grown and they have to deal with this now.
Recently, this urban violence took the life of a 10-year-old boy. For one of the boy's neighbors, it was the last straw.
He died instantly. He was 10 years old, doing what a 10-year-old should be doing, playing in the field with puppies. And now he can't do that anymore, because he's dead. People don't like each other. They're killing each other. And people are afraid. They can't talk anymore. Sorry.
Two apartment buildings in particular are acting as a magnet for the drugs and the prostitution. The building's owner could not be convinced that the tenement was dangerous. Barb Potts decided to fight back.
I don't want to be trapped. I'm scared of being trapped. And yet I'm also angry. I am furious that I would even have to think about putting my house up for sale and moving out of a community that I love, a city that I love. It makes me angry that I would have to do that. And I will be damned that I will. I won't. I will stay here and I will fight it. And I will fight it with anybody who's willing to fight it with me.
Barb went to work enlisting people to join her neighborhood watch group in order to clean up the apartments.
I've lived in this neighborhood my whole life. I've lived in the same house almost my entire life. I used to be able to walk to and from school. I walk to and from Roosevelt. I don't walk out of my house now when it's dark unless my husband's with me. And then I check to make sure there's no one on the streets because you don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Part of what's going on is that you've got a migration of people who are looking for opportunity. Right. And the people who are looking for an opportunity to deal drugs in your neighborhood, they like a quiet environment. They like a non-threatening environment because when it gets too chaotic, they move on. As long as it's convenient and comfortable for them to operate in your neighborhood, they're going to stay there.
Case Closed learned about Barb's group and contacted investigator John Corona.
I think it takes an extraordinary amount of guts to come forward. These people stay in the neighborhood. When an enforcement team comes into a neighborhood, private investigative agency comes into a neighborhood, we're in and out. These people are here 24 hours a day.
Barb needed evidence to convince the owner that the apartments had to be closed down. To accomplish this, Corona needed to hide in the houses of residents while he taped the criminal activity taking place outside. To avoid detection, he had to get the support of the community.
Covert, long-range video surveillance to display the evidence to where a person can actually see it. That's what we're going to do.
I was told that this could help the police department if we could get some of this footage.
Well, I agree with you. I think that's going to shortcut their time. It's going to eliminate a lot of man hours for them. And any traffic that shows up on videotape, they're going to be able to watch and confirm.
Corona began his videotape surveillance of the apartments from a house on the other side of the street. As a former member of the St. Louis Police Department, Corona hoped that this footage would prompt them into action.
They'll pick me up tomorrow morning. See you in the morning, okay?
When Corona was on the force, his specialty was drug enforcement, so he knew what to look for.
I'm expecting to see mixed traffic. It will not surprise me to see a large amount of traffic. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me to see 30, 35 customers to a particular residence in a half-an-hour period. If the guy's in what we call in pocket, he gets the word out to his customers.
It didn't take long for Corona's surveillance to pay off. He was able to tape numerous drug transactions. Here, the dealer takes the buyer to the side of the house where the buy goes down. Watch as the two men leave. The buyer actually consumes some of the drugs.
Time now, 4:16 p.m.
After 2 weeks of constant surveillance, John Corona believed he had the evidence he needed. He and Barb attempted to arrange meetings with the local police, but were told that due to manpower shortages, the police presence would remain the same.
That's frustrating. That makes me angry. It deals on your persistence, it deals on your patience, and it also deals on how tenacious are you. Are we going to blow this case off? Let's get out of here. Or are we going to be patient?
Frustrated, Barb and Corona decided to take the tape to the building's owner. They hoped that when confronted with the truth, he would act.
I mean, they didn't have any bones about taking him back there at all. They've seen him before.
Now that I've seen this, I just take about 4 guys, go over and put boards around the one side of the building, knock on the door and say, 1 o'clock this afternoon, I want you out.
Horrified that he managed one of the worst buildings in the neighborhood, the owner decided to take action.
It's probably one of the most craziest ideas that I've ever came up with, to go board somebody up in a building. But how else do you deal with it?
The owner finally made the decision to evict the criminal element from his property.
You live here?
Case Closed was there when he went to the building wired with a hidden microphone.
I'm the landlord here. I'm just trying to find out who's here. Staying with your auntie.
I'm staying upstairs with Wanda. She moved.
Wanda who?
You don't know your own people?
I know who lives there on the record. Who are you saying lives there?
Wanda.
1 week after delivering eviction notices, the owner sent a crew out to his building and closed it down. A number of the tenants were squatters, paying no rent. The rest of the tenants moved elsewhere, many leaving the neighborhood for good. Meanwhile, Corona decided to bypass the police chain of command and took the tape to Commissioner James Conway. After he viewed the footage, Conway and the police department made a new commitment to help clean up the neighborhood. Finally, after months of inaction, a number of arrests were made. Fully aware of the situation, the police are adding more patrols.
I think we're in a winnable war, and I think the only thing that's going to make us win is the fact that we need a number of soldiers to fight it. And these soldiers are here, and we need to fight the war, but it's winnable, and we're going to win it. I have no doubt of that.
Barb Potts is proof that one person can make a difference. She plans to continue her efforts to turn her neighborhood into a place worth living in. And Case Closed plans to work with her. We'll keep you posted on further developments. What should you do? In most experts' opinion, the best thing to do is nothing.
Give it up immediately. Give it up immediately. Don't fumble. Keep him calm. Don't get him nervous. Give him the money and get out of there.
But you better know when it's time to fight back.
If someone physically has their hands on you, That is the only time that I would advise resisting, is if your life is in imminent danger right now. Nothing is worth your life.
You can't go with these guys, and you can't get into a car. We got to learn the lesson about the car. You know, John Wayne Gacy took 33 into the car. Ted Bundy took 45 into the car. Dahmer, 17 into the car.
Whatever you do, don't make any sudden moves. Act calm, deliberate.
It is important to remember that the people who commit these kind of crimes are basically cowards. And as cowards, they are unpredictable. So that puts it upon the shoulders of the potential victim to be the one who keeps a calm head about them and doesn't panic and cause any undue violence that could otherwise be avoided.
Use your judgment and keep a cool head. It just might save your life.
Whatever the person's asked for, just be cooperative and just give it up, because you could always get that stuff back later on down the line with more money or something, but you can't buy your life again. You can't buy another life. You only have one of those, and you have to make do with what you got.
Remember, if an armed robber wants your money, keep cool. Don't fight back and give them what they want. But can you avoid being robbed in the first place? We'll be back with another crime tip that will answer that question.
Next, a police officer loses his leg in a catastrophic accident. Now, after 12 years, the officer finally gets his man with the help of Case Closed.
Ex-wife from testifying. He has now kidnapped her 4 children.
1 month after we received that call, a reunion took place and the case was closed.
My ex-husband is now living under multitudes of aliases, and with the court system of the way that it is, I am calling hoping that you guys can help me out.
2 weeks later, we did help out, and a criminal Casanova was put behind bars. Then, a mother came to us with a desperate plea.
About 4 years ago, I broke up with an old boyfriend, and he kidnapped my son. I hope you can help me.
Today, the boyfriend is in jail, and a little boy is with his mother. Now, Case Closed wants to hear from you. Call 1-800-432-3452 and tell us your story. That's 1-800-432-3452. We want to get on your case.
A New Mexico policeman's life was shattered beyond repair. A teenage boy slammed through a police blockade, and by the time his vehicle came to a stop, Clinton Ragsdale's leg was a bloody ruin. After 8 major reconstructive operations, he can still barely walk. Throughout his ordeal, Clinton Ragsdale had one thought on his mind. Not revenge, justice. On July 19, 1993, a private investigator and a Case Closed producer hurried to keep an appointment at a New Mexico law office. As a hidden camera rolled, they were ushered into a conference room. Then they waited. They knew that when their appointment arrived, anything could happen. The events leading up to this meeting began 12 years earlier on a hot New Mexico highway. August 30th, 1981. State police had set up a roadblock 1 mile northeast of the small town of Lovington. It was supposed to be a routine traffic stop as the state troopers checked for vehicle registration and safety equipment. But at 2:57 p.m., that roadblock became anything but routine.
Trooper Trujillo and Sergeant Clinton Ragsdale were in the median checking traffic that was westbound. And really, I heard Lieutenant Beverly say something to the effect of, "Look out," or "Watch out, Clinton."
Someone hollered and said he's not stopping. And I turned and looked, and he was bearing down on us, and I ran from that car across to another car across on the south side, and that's when he caught me.
Clinton Ragsdale was crushed between 2 cars. After surgery, he woke up without a right leg or a career. He would spend 21 days in the hospital as doctors tried to repair his grievous injuries.
Family reaction to the accident was, I guess, pretty rough on them for a while. But they seen that I was getting along all right and trying, and they got behind me. except my wife, and I don't think she ever got over it.
Clinton's wife paid the ultimate price for the teenager's careless driving.
As far as my own opinion, the accident had everything to do with her having the nervous breakdown and resulting in her death.
The teenager who drove into Clinton was cited for careless driving and was ordered to pay $20,000 as partial restitution for the injuries he had caused. But before he made a single payment, he left town. 7 years have passed. Clinton and his son Pat have tried desperately to locate the driver. Police wouldn't or couldn't help.
No one wanted to take the time to look for him because their part was finished.
In frustration, Clinton's son contacted Case Closed. We put him in touch with private investigator Pat Caristo.
We've run into a problem locating the young man that injured my father several years ago.
Our investigator needed some concrete leads in order to locate the driver.
The police report gives some general physical description. Do you have anything more that would show me what he looks like?
We've got this annual. This is several years old, and when he was attending the JC, and we've marked his photograph in here.
Okay.
Pat felt an immediate bond with her new client.
Mr. Ragsdale comes from my profession. I'm law enforcement. He's law enforcement. I can identify with how he feels. Most of the cases that you get in the private investigation business, there's a distance between you and the case. In this case, helping Mr. Ragsdale is very personal, and that was very important to me.
Pat started her search for the driver. The Ragsdales had learned that he was about to enter law school at the time of the settlement. This was a major lead, as all practicing lawyers had to be members of their state bar association. Pat was hoping that he had not left the state and had not changed his name. The computer search helped her zero in on her target.
How can I help you? May I see file CV0086? Through the computer, you can now do a national database search, which will tell you where the subject has lived throughout the United States, where they're currently living, basically an address history. So all of that information just helps to narrow the amount of information you have to go out in the field to find.
Pat's search led her to Albuquerque, New Mexico, where she learned her hunch was correct. The man she was looking for was a lawyer and had returned to the state. She went undercover and tailed him.
During the course of gathering all the information, this silhouette of the subject starts to fill in, and this is a person whose reputation, whose occupation says you must stay within the rules. And so the picture I have of this person is one who does not stay within the rules, who chooses his own rules as they fit for him.
By now, Pat had learned that the man she was after worked for an established law firm. There seemed to be no question that he could make the payments, but locating the lawyer would turn out to be only the beginning.
Case Closed was faced with a dilemma. We had tracked down the man responsible for Clinton Ragsdale's injuries, but exposing him publicly could cause him to lose his job. And without a job, how could he make good on his court-ordered payments? We'll be right back. Not revenge. With that in mind, we devised a new plan that, with a little luck, would allow this case to finally be closed.
Our plan was simple. Confront the lawyer directly but confidentially. Well aware that she was dealing with an attorney and that everything she said might be used against her, Pat arranged for a private appointment, choosing every word with the utmost care.
I would classify it as a creditor's rights matter. And it's my understanding that you're going to be the only attorney who can help resolve this matter.
I take it this came from a reliable source.
Yes.
Did you just get my card, basically?
No, your name was provided.
Oh, really? Well, good. I suppose I'm glad to hear that. Okay, is this are we talking about a business situation or a personal matter? Or?
I would say it's personal, and it is somewhat delicate, and I would prefer to leave as much of the conversation to when we meet as possible.
I think that'd be fine. I guess we could meet I think 3 o'clock's probably fine. I would like to check my schedule first and call you back, but I think that'd be fine.
Pat needed videotape proof that the lawyer recognized his obligation. As it is legal in New Mexico to secretly tape as long as one party consents, case closed, send a producer along with a video camera hidden in a briefcase. It was time.
Let's go.
On July 16, 1993, Pat and our producer arrived for their 3 o'clock meeting. They were shown to a conference room. And then the lawyer arrived.
Hi.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good. I'm Pat Christo.
Nice to meet you.
Pat went straight to the point.
The matter is a creditor rights matter, as I told you, and I'm here on behalf of the creditor. And the people who referred us, and the reason I'm here is that I'm representing the Ragsdales.
Okay.
They have hired me as an investigator, first of all, to locate you in order to expedite the judgment that was enforced some years ago. And I guess I'm here to ask you how you want to proceed with that.
Well, I'm barely making it myself right now.
Okay.
Okay. The agreement, I'm looking at the agreement. I understand the agreement. But I guess what I'm telling you is a judgment is a judgment. If you can't enforce it, if I don't have anything, there's nothing, I mean, I can't do anything. I can't pay.
Pat was shocked at this reaction.
I wanted to just take him and shake him into adulthood. He was just being a child.
I think you need to talk to my attorney at this point.
After Pat had stated her case, the meeting ended. The lawyer knew that the game was over. Within hours, his attorney had contacted the Ragsdales representatives, and the discussion about paying the debt began.